Have you ever looked up at the night sky and just wondered, who's up there? Right now, as you're listening to this, there are more people living and working off-planet than almost any other time in history. So, let's get into it. 14. That's the magic number. 14 humans are currently orbiting our planet, living in a world without gravity and looking down on the rest of us. And they're not all in one place either. They're spread across 3 completely different cosmic workplaces. But what are they actually doing all day? Is it all just floating around and snapping incredible photos of Earth? Well, there's some of that, for sure. But their daily schedules are absolutely jam-packed with everything from mind-bending science to, fixing the plumbing. So we're going to take a quick tour of our cosmic neighborhood. We'll find out who's where, see what life is really like on the International Space Station, get a peek inside China's Tiangong station, and then we'll hitch a ride with the crew that's heading all the way around the moon. And finally, we'll connect the dots and see why any of this really matters back here on Earth. Okay, first things first, let's get the lay of the land, or I guess the lay of the vacuum. Where exactly are these 14 pioneers? So the crew is split across 3 separate outposts. You've got 7 astronauts on the huge and bustling International Space Station coming from 2 different missions. Then there are 3 taikonauts holding down the fort on China's Tiangong Space Station. And finally, 4 astronauts are on the wildest ride of all, flying around the moon in the Orion capsule. Our first stop, the International Space Station. This place has been humanity's home in low Earth orbit for more than 20 years. And believe me, it is a constant hive of activity. So, what does a normal workday look like when your office is whipping around the planet at 17,500 miles an hour? It's this amazing mix of super futuristic stuff and things that are, well, surprisingly normal. And this is what I mean. The sheer variety is just wild. In a single day, an astronaut might be checking the seals on their $1 million spacesuit, then getting their eyes checked to see how microgravity is affecting them, and then, fixing the toilet. One minute, they're operating a giant robotic arm. The next, they're hauling cargo or running cables for a new experiment. It's like you have to be a scientist, a mechanic, and a delivery person, all rolled into one. But here's the thing. There's a huge purpose behind every single one of those tasks. The ISS is basically our #1 laboratory for figuring out how the human body can even handle being in space. So every eye exam, every workout, every little thing is crucial data that's going to help us plan for those really long trips, to places like Mars. All right, next stop on our tour is the Tiangong Space Station. It's run by the China Manned Space Agency, and it's a bit newer on the block, but the crew there has been incredibly busy. Just recently, 2 of the taikonauts did a 7-hour spacewalk. Talk about a long day at work. They had to suit up, float out of their lab module, and install this brand new device to protect the station from tiny bits of space junk. It just shows you how high stakes and physically demanding their jobs really are. So these 3 taikonauts are at the absolute top of their game, but they just recently welcomed some new colleagues who are, let's just say, very small and very furry. That's right, mice. 4 of them are now living on Tiangong, which is actually the first time China has sent live mammals into space. And what's their job? Well, scientists are studying how their behavior changes in zero gravity, which adds another tiny but important piece to that giant puzzle of long-duration spaceflight. And for our final workplace tour, we are going much, much further from home. We're catching up with the 4 astronauts on the Artemis II mission, who are in the middle of an absolutely epic journey around the moon. This is a massive deal, a 10-day flight that marks the first time in over 50 years that humans have gone to the moon. So after they launched, they spent a day just making sure their Orion spacecraft was working perfectly. Then they fired the engines and headed out into deep space. The main event is a flyby of the far side of the moon before they loop all the way back home for a splashdown in the Pacific. And get this, during the mission, this crew will travel over 400,000 kilometers from Earth, setting a brand new record for the farthest any human has ever gone. They are literally pushing the boundaries of exploration. Can you even imagine the view? This quote really helps paint the picture. For the Artemis II crew, the moon isn't just some little light in the sky. No, it's going to look as big as a basketball held right out in front of them. Just a massive, incredible world filling their entire window. Wow. So we have people fixing toilets, installing debris shields, studying mice, and flying around the moon. It's all amazing, but why should any of it matter to us, way back here on the ground? Well, the research they're doing up there has some seriously powerful impacts down here. For instance, studying how cancer cells grow differently in zero-G is actually speeding up the development of new drugs. And figuring out how to monitor an astronaut's diabetes in space could lead to brand new ways to provide remote healthcare for people right here on Earth. Every little bit helps us build a safer future, both in space and at home. At the end of the day, every single task that these 14 people do is another brick in the foundation. They are living and working on the absolute frontier, not just for the thrill of discovery, but to build a real, sustainable future for humanity beyond our homeworld. What they're doing is turning science fiction into science fact, one orbit at a time. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? As we keep pushing outwards into that great unknown, what role would you want to play in our cosmic future?